Alright, so I changed the coating in the slicer. I moved the bed height down. Just heated up. There it goes. Got my hand on the power button just in case it tries to print through the bed. Hopefully not. No, it didn't. Can't tell. Putting the small part on the bottom first. I went ahead and left it the way they had originally made it, instead of flipping it over like I thought I should. I just left it as was. I did that with a little button. I flipped it over. It didn't work for squat. So let's see what happens. So far it looks pretty damn good. Already at 13%. It's a pretty small part. That's the little part that goes inside the bearing. And then it'll start getting wider, and that's kind of like the little cap where your fingers will, your thumb and your forefinger would sit. Now you can see it's starting to get bigger. This is also where we get to test the sag and the cooling. It does not look to be sagging at this point. It's supposed to be really, really good at making bridges too. It's supposed to be able to handle up to 3 inches with no supports of any kind. That's pretty good. We're at 30%. Kind of looks like on the right hand side is that's interesting. I actually went a little bit lower and was doing that. Not quite sure what's happening. It doesn't look right. Well, we're at 36%. We'll just let it do its thing. Oh, just broke loose. Darn it. Well, kind of curious to see what it was doing here. Now this is where it broke loose, so it made some goo. It went around it. Actually, no, I take that back. That was doing really good there. Was. Until it popped loose, until my glue came off. I think I'm going to kick the temp up just a little bit more. But this would go in there. And oh, I didn't clean the skirt off. And of course it's going to be fiddly. Tell you what, this stuff's actually pretty strong. I'm not going to do the whole thing. This is a failed part. I just want to see if it's actually the right diameter. And yes, it works. Alright, well, let's get a little bit better adhesion. I'm going to kick the temperature up another 10 degrees. We're going to go to 220. I think for these small, well, yeah, I think we're going to try 220. I think we got enough to hopefully finish a cap. But yeah, it was doing pretty good. There's its bridging out. Now I deformed it, flexing it all around, screwing around with it. And I just broke that one side. But yeah, I think kick the temp up. Put a little bit more glue stick as I throw the camera around. Give that time to dry. Reslice. Reprint. Hopefully get it right this time. Oh yeah, kick the temperature up. I think that's the only thing I'm going to change. I'm going to go to 220. We'll see what happens. Alright, so you see I changed the temp to 220. We're already at about 180, 179-ish. I also moved the bed down another 0.2. Just because we're 195, 198. Heats up pretty good. What are we at? 206, 211. Hopefully I got enough filament to print that out. And one thing I see is it's not oozing, but that's alright because we got it set to build a skirt. So, and I'm going to have my finger on the power button just in case. Oh, now it's oozing. Just in case it goes too low. Nope. No, I'm going to have to change it in the firmware. But last time it did pretty damn good on the button. It wasn't until it got higher where it was making a bigger part that it popped off. Hopefully that higher temp and a little bit more glue. If that don't work, we're going to have to go into the firmware. Move it down. Just kind of zips along, don't it? Doesn't screw around. Fingers crossed. It's 15%. This should be a solid fill. Yep, it's going in that center. 20%. Actually, I take that back. It is hollow. There's a little air gap in there. It just filled the top of it over. It didn't fill the whole thing. And here's where it's starting to make it wider. Hopefully it doesn't pop off. 25%. %. I think this is about where that other one, no, the other one was wider than this. About a ½ inch. Here's where it starts doing that funny stuff. %. Doesn't look the prettiest. You see some weird lines and stuff. See some flexing, but I think that's just because it's still hot. %. We're further than we were. We're still holding. Interesting how it does that outer edge in the air. I don't know who came up with the ratios and the logarithms and formulas and all that. I'm impressed. I mentioned that. That we're at 45. And no issues yet. I wonder how good it is until we actually take it off. Last time I thought it was kind of warped and unlevel, but took it off and it was actually right on. There's 50%. And looks good. One thing I did forget, darn it, I was going to change the infill to 15%. We're still at 25. And I think it just popped off. It did. Too bad I don't have something I can reach in there with. And just hold it down. What do you think? I can definitely see why it pulls off the bed. I'm holding this with a pair of long nose needle nose pliers. Don't do this at home, kids. I can feel that head pulling on this. We're at 68%. I think if we drop that infill down to 15% instead of 25 would also help. Yeah, it's pulling on this pretty hard. I didn't realize it did that. 75%. Interesting. 80%. And from what I can see, looks pretty good. No issues that I can see. %. It's interesting how it goes clockwise, then counterclockwise, then zigzags. Just back and forth. So I was saying earlier, I don't know who wrote the programming for all this, but definitely earning their money. We're at 95%. So it's just about done. 98. 99, that's usually where it kicks off. It kind of restuck itself. You can see where it pulled off. Surprisingly, even when I grabbed it and held it back down, there's only one little string, but that can be cleaned off. Get the skirt off here. I'll have to clean that with the knife. But that's the skirt. And then, well, I guess underneath you can see there's a line there where it broke loose. You can see it that way better. But still, I can clean that up. I think it'll be just fine. Even though I held it down with a pair of pliers. Took it 6 minutes. I haven't figured out what this number is. It's got a little clock and I have no idea what that stands for. Minutes? Oh, now we're up to 8. It just went up. I have no idea. If I had a book on it, I could tell you, but I don't know what that little timer means. This is the extruder temp, hotbed temp. I'm not running one at the moment, so it's at 0. Your X, your Y, and then your Z. And this is where I need to put that 3 back in. 293.31. Fill rate, frame rate. I don't know what the 100% is either, I guess. SD card. Now that I can definitely tell. When it's running, it tells me what percentage it's at. This is how many hours and how many minutes, and it will say seconds if you get hours going that it took to finish. This clock, not a clue. No idea. But yeah, this goes in there, and then this goes in there. I still got to deburr everything. But yeah, I think I might need 2 of them. I might have just enough. Yeah, I'm gonna fix the firmware. I should have done it last time. I was being lazy. I was hoping I could do it in the slicer. It's the only way you're gonna learn. And no, didn't do it in the slicer. So I'm gonna move that down in the firmware right now. No questions asked. I'm gonna put a little more glue on here, clean that up, print the other side for the other one, the other side of it. And again, this is just the test. I'm just using up the filament they sent me. After that, I think we should have it all dialed in. No more bugs, no more questions or issues, and should be on point. So I'll probably do another one. I'll put this all together and show you what it looks like completed. Oh wait, not that. That's trash. Make another one of these. Put this together, clean it all up, deburr it, snap it together. Again, it's not going to be perfect because it did lift on this side. I will print more of these. There's a couple of them I saw with gears, but I need it all, you know, on a gnat's ass perfect before I do any of that. I was just looking. It looks like there's a line in there. I don't feel it. Oh, I think it's just the light reflecting. Just amazed at how reflective and glossy those edges are. I mean, honestly, they're like glass. A friend of mine's got it where he's printing, and it has to be a different setting, but his you can feel like, how do I say it, like a metal file going up. Mine's like glass smooth. I'm sure it's somewhere in the settings. I'm probably wasting material I don't need to for no reason, and he's being more conservative, I think. But let's go ahead and get that firmware set. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Fans up to temp. I'm going to do the glue now because I found that when you put it on, you let it dry and then you hit it, you know, with the hot filament. It seems to work great. These building like this, I guess I see what the little, it's like a cup on the top. I can see why they do it this way, but I don't know a better way to do it, so they're smarter than me. We'll go with what they've already got. Print out the other side and hopefully it's better. Thank you. Cable clip holder goes on the side of the 20 by 20 extruded aluminum towers. Kind of clips in and keep my cables tight. I actually only have one, but it's also a good little test print. It's a small little one, doesn't use much filament. The very first layer, and I think it's the skirt, kind of screwy. Can't tell because it's tiny. But once it's finished, I mean the edges, as you can see, the height and the little clips where it goes in, they all look pretty good. That very first layer that you see there kind of sticking out, that's the skirt. And I think when we pull that off, it'll be okay. Might have to do a little filing on it. I can't really tell while it's printing. But it's staying stuck. It's staying on the board. We're only running at 210 for temp. Now I have noticed, as you probably see right there, it vibrates a little bit. And that's just on this part that it started doing that. I've made 3 or 4 others and haven't had any issues. Speaking of others, made that little thing around the switch, a little stop button. I got to sand the top of that. It wasn't perfect. Very first layer. Yeah, so there's that vibration. I don't know what that's about. I was thinking maybe one of my screws came loose, but I'm looking at them. They don't appear to be loose. At least nothing obvious. I'll check that when this gets done. We're at 51% now. But I'll check that. See if anything came loose. Check all the motor screws, tower mounts, everything. Nothing obvious that I can see anyway. Otherwise, I mean, other than that little bit of vibration there, I mean, it's printing damn nice. You know, I did change. I changed my infill from 10% to 25%. I did change that in the settings. I made it a little bit thicker. Because I wanted to have, you know, because it clips over, you know, you gotta stretch it, then it closes itself back down. I wonder if that's what it is. It's printing a lot heavier. That's why it's kind of vibrating. It's very tiny in those spots where it's doing that. But no sagging, no holes, no gaps. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, for my like 4th or 5th print, what am I at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th print. And granted, they're all like, you know, 1-inch biggest piece. I think this is probably the biggest one I printed besides the cube itself. But I mean, looking at them walls, the corners, I mean, I'm impressed. I want to say it's perfect, but obviously it's not. I do see one little sag, and I won't know for sure until I get it off the bed. But it looks like, you know, I'd say a millimeter from the top right now. It looks like there's a little gap. We're at 75%. I was going to speed this up, but it's actually going pretty fast. And I've got the speed killed. I got it down to like 30. It can print at 150. I'm only at 30. For these little tiny parts, I didn't want it flying all over the place. When I start doing some bigger ones, I'll kick the speed up. But these little ones, I've just got it at 30. And it's still fast, and we're already at 80% now. So yeah, my little fan that cools the part down below is just running perfect. The arms are moving. I did that little vibration, but I think that might be because I changed the infill 25% instead of 10%. But after this print, I'm going to let it cool off, and then I'm going to check all my nuts and bolts and screws, make sure everything's nice and snug still. We're at 87%, so yeah, it's going pretty damn quick. Found out it doesn't like to stick to bare glass. Whether I use hairspray, sticky tape, sticky glue, doesn't like glass. As you can see, I got the painter's blue tape on there. It worked pretty good, but I ended up putting a little glue stick on top of the printer's tape even. And the temp at 210, and not a problem at all. No issues. Nothing's came loose or broke loose on me now. Other than that one little tiny part I did for the emergency stop button. And that's just because it was so damn tiny, I don't think there's anything to stick. We're at 95%. Just about there. And I see that one little space. But again, I won't really know until I actually pick the part up and look at it. 98%. 99. And 100. I don't see any strings coming off the top. Oh, there's this little one right there. I'm going to go ahead and let the fan cool down on its own, or cool the extruder. But yeah, you can see the skirt going around it. Trying to find a pointy device. Oop, that's already got some goo on it. But I see right there, there's a little blob. It might be from the skirt, it might just pull right off. Let's see if I can break it loose. Oh, came off pretty easy. Yeah, so let's push this out of the way. Nope, that's part of the skirt. I might be able to pull that off. But I've seen a space. Turn my screen on so I can see. No, I thought there was a space there, but there's not. It's pretty clean. you know, I'm happy with it. I'll clean the skirt off, but where this basically goes is it clips on here, and then back here is where you can tuck your wire in. I'm not going to snap it in. I got to clean that skirt off it. Yeah, the bottom's not great. But still, that's going to be at the bottom. No one's going to see it. This is what you're going to see. And dude, I'm happy. That looks damn nice to me. Alright, thank you.